How can we really get to know who the ancient Romans were? We often think of Rome in terms of great and powerful rulers like Julius Caesar and Nero. Studying these individuals reveals little on who the average Romans actually were. To understand the Romans, we need to look at the typical lives of normal inhabitants, from their buildings, their hygiene, and their food. Point 1. The lives Romans lived are revealed in the architectural remains. The buildings that they lived reveal an enormous amount of the lives about the people who constructed them. For instance, American houses are a great example. They're not durable, however, they do have lots of windows. And we can see what Americans value based off of what it is. So we like views. It's okay because them not being durable is fine because we don't typically stay in the houses for a very long time compared to other societies where they would live in their houses for thousands of years and pass it on from generation to generation. Roman public spaces most spaces were built with the main public square, where people could chat, make purchases, eat food, etc., and basically anything you can imagine. The Forum was the heart of Rome, and where people socialized, and they had business deals, elections, and everything else you can imagine. Part of what made Roman public spaces so important was the Roman government provided few services that we would expect as obvious requirements of good government. Ancient Rome had no police. Romans needed an alternate way to protect themselves, since they didn't have anyone to enforce the law. Rome's public spaces revealed that the typical Romans spent much of their time with members of a close-knit community built around the protection and financial support of one powerful figure known as patrons and clients. This dated back to the very founding of Rome. The duties of a client included supporting his patron financially and politically, dowries, and political life. The clients in return would get protection. So if someone dishonored you, the clients would make it right. Most days would begin with a visit to the patron, discussing issues, the client's request, etc. After eating, they would go and make it right. So since everyone had it, basically how this would work is that they would go eat, people would talk about what happened. So say someone threw a rock at someone's, like their cousin's leg, they would say, hey, this person did this, and then they would go, the patron with all of his clients would go to that person's house, find them, and then say, if you don't make this right, we're going to kill you, and you burn your stuff, basically everything, just horrible stuff. And this so since everyone had a patron, everyone was very respectful, because they didn't want people, they knew if I was going to hurt this person, they probably had a patron with a bunch of clients that were going to come and hurt me. So I'm going to be respectful of everyone. Another thing that made Rome unique was their graves. Graves were commonly found on the roadside, and unlike many modern graves, Roman graves told us an enormous amount about how they lived, valued, and were different. They would write very different and distinct things on them, like, that are very different than us. Like, for instance, their weaving abilities. And they also cared a lot about their afterlife, and had very elaborate tombs, etc. So a quote by the epitaph of Claudia says, quote, "Stop, traveler. While this place has no beauty to it, I once was a beautiful woman. My parents gave me the name of Claudia," and told, end quote, and basically said how she was really good at making wool and loved to dance. That is a lot different than how we typically have it nowadays of just, oh, this is the name, this is the person, their first name, their last name, and the day they were born and the date they died. So this is how they did it in ancient Rome. Point 2. Rome went to great lengths to ensure its citizens' hygiene. Mainly their public toilets. Around the 1st century BC, public lanternos became a major feature of Roman infrastructure, and nearly all city dwellers had access to private toilets in their residence. Nonetheless, archaeologists still know very little because few wrote about it, and when they did, it would typically be statistical. Romans considered it normal to socialize in the bathroom or in the john. The latrines consisted of rooms lined with stone or wooden benches positioned over a sewer that was typically flushed by a nearby bathhouse or natural water source. The toilet holes were round on top of the bench with a slit in front, allowing for a sponge-tipped stick for cleaning. There was also a small gutter that ran parallel to the seats along the ground to wash the sponges and pass along. There was some sort of privacy, though, thanks to their long garments. They would also use the bathrooms, made a huge part of it, to socialize. A quote from Martial 1177 says, quote, going to the toilets, quote, he strikes up conversations, even with those he hates. And for a dinner party invitation, you know he always waits. So people would just stay there just to socialize with people because that was such a huge part of their lives. Point 3. The Roman cuisine provides us with a deeply personal look at how the absence need transformed Roman citizens into fast food junkies and gourmands in search of the next trendy, ultra-obscure foods. Throughout much of history, food has been largely unavailable. Rome, however, had a different problem similar to the New World of America in that they had an excess of stuff. Bread and olive oil became the basis of Roman pleasant diet, and watered-down wine, the standard beverage to supplement these basics. The Romans typically ate fast food throughout the day, including meats, pasta, and lasagna. The Roman government used term cura enote, which means care for the grain supply, in honor of their goddess Aona, to give free grain to the residents of Rome, and later bread was even given. This was a part of the Roman leadership of maintaining tranquility amongst the restive urban population. In 22 AD, the Emperor Tiberius said that cura enote, if neglected, would be, quote, by Tiberius, the utter ruin of the state, end quote. With free bread, which basically means that without them giving it, it would basically ruin Rome entirely because people based such a huge portion of their lives and what they ate and how they spent their money, basically everything you imagine based off of how much food they got and what type of food they got. And if they were to take it all away, who knows what would have happened to Rome and even today. With the free bread guaranteed, powerful Romans began to see food as an entertainment rather than a nourishment, and dinner parties began to function as a venue to display rare foods. So, although we often think of Rome in terms of great and powerful rulers like Julius Caesar and Nero, studying these individuals reveals little on where the Romans really were. To really understand the Romans, we need to look at the typical lives of normal inhabitants, from their buildings, hygiene, and food. Thank you.